You mentioned dismantling LAFC. Speaking of, their head coach, Steve Trundle, announced Friday he will step down at the end of the 2025 season. This will end his almost 4 seasons with LAFC. The club's co-president and GM, John Thornton, saying, quote, Steve has been a tremendous leader for LAFC and has proven to be one of the top coaches in our league, and added, we support his decision to focus on his family with the move at the end of the season. So what did the statement say exactly from Trundle? He said, it is an honor to be the head coach of LAFC. After much reflection and discussion with my family, we made the decision that at the end of this year, we will return to Germany. I love Los Angeles and LAFC, but this move is in the best interest of my family, even as it will ultimately take us away from a team, city, organization, and fan base that I am proud to represent. I am looking forward to continuing our work with the players, coaches, and staff to make the 2025 season a success as we keep fighting to win trophies. Still a long way to go here for the season, but first we'll bring in our Jeff Carlisle, who joins us now on Football Americas. Jeff, so the reason that we're hearing from Steve Teronelo himself is to focus on his family, to make this move back to Germany. But is there anything else that played a part into his decision?
Well, I think anytime a manager resigns and cites family reasons, there's almost a temptation to put it into air quotes, because a lot of times the manager's about to be pushed out the door either by the front office or by the locker room. But I think this is one situation where family reasons are front and center of this situation. Trundle's wife was born in Germany. That's where they met. Their 2 kids were born there. There's family back there. It was certainly an emotional departure when Trundle moved his family to the United States back in 2021. He said as much to me in an interview back then. That was when he was going to take over the Las Vegas Lights, kind of an apprenticeship before he took over LAFC. And so I think there's always been that pull, that pull of the German culture, of German football. And I think in this situation, there's a desire to be closer to family too. So I think that there were a lot of reasons for Trundle to want to make this move. And, granted, he could have waited until the end of the season to make this announcement, but when houses get put on the market, when moving vans start to get ordered, it kind of sends out a flare that something's going on. So I think Trundle's preference was, hey, let's get this announcement out of the way. Let's get it out in public now. There won't be any speculation. Everybody will know what's going on. LAFC can plan for the future in terms of who their next manager is going to be. And Trundle can plan as well and see what his options are back in Germany.
Were you surprised with this, Herc?
Knowing Steve, I'm not surprised. His whole life is in Germany. He's the mayor of Hanover. He was there since he was a teenager, as a young boy.
Over 400 games.
He's an absolute legend for that club. He got his coaching badges in Germany. He was well on his way to, coaching a different club when he was there. The opportunity to come coach in the States was a yearning of his, and the experience of the American life for his family. They got to experience it. He did a lot of good things here. And what I would tell the LAFC fan is a lot of those fans were dying for Steve Trundle to leave this club. Be careful what you wish for.
Yep.
Because it's 4 years, and Steve Trundle, who is an absolute legend in American soccer, has provided you with a Supporters Shield, an MLS Cup, an Open Cup, and 2 different CONCACAF Champions League finals. I remember LAFC and their frustrations before Steve Trundle. Out the door is walking one of the absolute legends in American soccer, and a guy that I think they took for granted, and maybe stylistically, it wasn't the best, but it sure was effective. And with revolving rosters like LAFC and John Thornton have put out for Steve Trundle, I'm surprised they were as successful as they were. Certainly the success of the neighbor LA Galaxy last season winning MLS Cup put more pressure on Steve Trundle, but this is a massive loss for LAFC.
Yeah, the player-coach relationship that was seen constantly with Steve Trundle was also always, at least from the time that I was able to spend watching LAFC from the sidelines, was also something that was very noticeable, and we just saw his accomplishments at the end of the day. Jeff mentioned, Shaka, the fact that he wanted to get this announcement out of the way rather than wait until the end of the season. How would this affect a locker room What is your perspective on his decision?
I think a decision like this with a manager that's liked and has had the success that Steve Trundle has done kind of galvanizes that dressing room, because they understand the decision, they understand the motivations behind it. And to Jeff's point, and while a manager stepping away for family reasons does come with its set of air quotes, those air quotes normally are valid or carry more weight if we are talking about a head coach or manager who's stepping away in a month's time, in a couple of weeks' time. Mm-hmm. But the fact that this announcement is made today in April for the end of the season, 6 months away, it speaks to this is not simply a falling out between ownership and manager. That the family reasons that Trundle is quoting is valid. That he feels that call to go back to Germany for very personal reasons. And I do not doubt, not for a moment, that there's anything more. So again, to Jeff's point, normally that's a pretty weighted statement, but I think it's very different this time around. And what you will see in response, I believe, is a dressing room that wants to honor the legacy that Steve Trundle is leaving behind. Because Steve Trundle, without question, has delivered success to LAFC. And there's no but at the end of that. Often when we talk about coaches, especially coaches who are stepping away, and we list their accomplishments, there's a but. There's none with Steve Trundle. And I think that is as motivating a factor behind what I expect from LAFC's dressing room as any.
Yeah, very motivating to play for somebody and to do it for your coach in what is essentially his last dance, although that's a very heavy phrase that we could use in this situation. Jeff, but when it comes to Steve Trundle himself, Herc already mentioning what he did in Germany as a coach, assistant coach at Stuttgart with Germany's U15. He has experience there too on the managerial side, but what's next for him?
I mean, I think part of what he's accomplished over here in the United States and MLS is that he's established his managerial credentials. I don't think there's any mystery about Steve Trundle's ability as a coach. People in Europe might want to turn up their nose at MLS and think that it's an inferior league. I mean, granted, listen, no one's comparing it to the Premier League or even the Bundesliga, but it is professional experience. And so I think given the apprenticeship that he served in Germany, with Hanover, with the German U15s, he was hugely respected as a player. I think he was on his way to being hugely respected as a coach while there. And now that he's had the success with LAFC, I think that's only increased. So I don't think Steve Trundle is going to be short of any coaching opportunities, managerial opportunities, when he actually makes it back there, at the end of the year. Now, granted, it is an awkward time of year for him to be landing in Germany. I mean, it'll be the middle of the season. Granted, you'll have some teams that are struggling, and Trundle will have to decide, what situation suits him best. He may wait until the following June and try to have as much of a clean slate as possible. But his phone is going to be ringing. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Again, it's not like a guy that played in England and is suddenly landing in Germany. I mean, the German fans, I think the German soccer establishment knows who Steve Trundle is and what he stands for. And again, there's huge respect there. So I don't think he's going to be out of a job for long. It's just up to him to choose, I think, what the best situation for him is.
Yeah, and Herc mentioned, warning those LAFC fans who wanted him out to be careful what they wish for. When it comes to LAFC's future, Jeff, who are the candidates as of now to possibly replace now Steve Trundle?
Well, I mean, you could look, inside the coaching staff. You've got a guy like Mark Dos Santos. Obviously he's got professional experience in the league. Ante Ratsov has been around for a while as well. So, and then there's plenty of coaches and assistant coaches around the league that would probably throw their hat in the ring. We'll see if there aren't some upper echelon MLS coaches who might look at that LAFC job and think, wow, that would be something. That would be a fantastic environment. You've got massive support from ownership. You've got a rabid fan base. You've got a terrific venue to play in every other week. So, I don't think it's going to be it'll be a thorough search. I think there will be a lot of different candidates that John Thornton is going to be able to choose from. He's going to have his pick, and it's going to be interesting to see, what situation, what decision that LAFC ends up making.
What do you think, Kirk?
Listen, if we're going, they've got the best recruiting tool in the business, which is Los Angeles. It's very difficult to say no to Los Angeles and that ownership and the game day experience they have there and the budget they have and the ability to attract stars that they have. So they can go out and they can get a very good quality coach, whether that's South American or whether that's European. Take your pick. There are a lot of different candidates now today that we would have never thought would have even looked this way. Mauricio Pochettino, looking at the U.S. men's national team, has opened the door to other coaches in the realm of Major League Soccer looking over this way. That's a norm now in Major League Soccer, your ability to attract because of where you are and what you can offer. If you're going domestic, I could think of two things, two coaches. One is a guy that's on the market right now who's had great success with very little. And that is Jim. Jim Curtin. Thank you so much. That is Jim Curtin. Jim Curtin's a guy that knows the league very well. He's worked magic with the Philly Union, which is a team that did not spend a lot of money. That is one route to go. And John Thornton is one of the smartest guys in the business. But if I'm John Thornton, and Major League Soccer now is as competitive as it is, and I see a coach that is by far head and shoulders above the rest, I'm going out there and I'm doing whatever I can to get Wilfred Nancy. I'm bringing a coach that's experienced. I'm bringing a coach that's got a style, a very pleasant style, into the entertainment capital, which is Los Angeles, California. I'm bringing somebody to Hollywood of that magnitude. That's who I would go for if I'm going domestic. But it's LAFC. I think John Thornton has to really make a statement with the next coach.
Jim Curtin would be fascinating because Jim knows how to adapt to a constantly changing roster. And he did that Philadelphia Union with really young players at the end of the day. It'll be interesting to see if he gets this possibility with LAFC.